Hello and welcome to this channel, Clinic Wahala by yours truly, Dr. Kach. Thank you for being with us today on this episode of One for the Road. Last time I talked about smoking. I also mentioned secondhand smoking. That's those who stay where people smoke heavily, that they are also at risk of all the health problems smokers have. But there's a third one or another component that I will want to mention today. Usually smoking in our climb is usually a hobby for mostly men. I mean, if you check the population of those that smoke, men predominate. So later in life, when we talk about lung cancer, we talk about COPD, that's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, as we mentioned before, that looks like asthma that happens to elderly people. When we mention all that, is usually more in the males than in the females. But there's an entity that we also need to know. Exposure to fumes is not just from smoking and being a second-hand smoker. There are women who come down with COPD later in life. When you meet them in the hospital and take the history, mama, what's up now? Why come down with COPD? That usually is aligned to smokers, and they'll tell you they did not smoke, they never smoked, they never stayed in bars where they smoke, so they are not part of second-hand smokers. But when you go further in the history, you learn that these are mamas did a whole lot of cooking with firewood when they were young. Of course, the society we live in, most of the fuel we used to cook back then was firewood. Yes, firewood generates its own fumes. It's not now that most of us use gas and maybe kerosene, but firewood generates a lot of fumes. We call it biomass fuel exposure. So with long-term exposure to the fumes that come from firewood and cooking for the house, cooking in a restaurant, cooking for people, large-scale cooking that did all through their lives, they end up being exposed to these fumes that can also cause COPD. So it mustn't be a smoker or a second-hand smoker before someone has COPD. So it also means that our mamas should be wiser this time around. While the economy is not a wonderful one, that we may still have to cook with firewood, but maybe you may decide to put on a mask when doing that. Well, the point is you should reduce your level of exposure to biomass fuel and these fumes, because it can affect you later in life and you may come down with COPD without being a smoker or a second-hand smoker. Thank you very much for listening. This is important that you share to your family, your friends, especially our young mothers who are wonderful people that help to make our meals and all, so that they are less exposed to these fumes that can affect them later in life. So do subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share to family and friends so that they are better informed. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.